many customers have a huge distrust in those policies because one size fits all doesn't really speak to them because the awareness of travel insurance is so high. Consumers know exactly what they're looking for, and many of these policies that are presented to us at the checkout window are just not relevant.
Try this experiment. Next time you're with friends or family, ask them a very simple question. Does thinking about travel insurance generally evoke positive or negative feelings? You don't have to be a mind reader to guess what the most common response will be. The thing is, travel insurance has an image problem. For many, it's characterized by restrictions, exclusions, incomprehensible small print, an eagerness to take your money, and an unwillingness to settle a claim. So, what's gone wrong in the industry to generate such ill will? What can be done to change it? And how are companies harnessing technology to make travel insurance finally fit for the 21st century traveler? My name's Jack, and you're listening to Battleface Uncharted, a podcast brought to you by Battleface Travel Insurance. We speak to some of the travel industry's leading figures to discover the trends that you need to know about. When talking travel insurance, we're not exactly short of experts here. I mean, it's what we do. But we decided to go straight to the top and pick the brains of Battleface's CEO and also my boss, Sasha Gainullin. Sasha began his career in travel insurance at the age of just 19, working for Travel Guard, going on to build global operations for companies like AIG, while specializing in emergency medical assistance services, claims, and overall customer experience. So, what is the problem with travel insurance?
Good question. Travel insurance has been in existence for many decades, and travel insurance as a concept has been created 40 plus years ago. And certainly these products have been created back then for travelers who traveled in a different way versus to the way we travel right now. And the biggest problem in travel insurance is that these travel insurance products remain the same, even though we, in the way we travel, has changed. And we are on a mission to definitely make a difference within the travel insurance industry by creating products that are relevant to today's travelers.
Why has travel insurance failed to move with the times?
There's different answers probably for that question. I think primarily because of technology. Certainly, we've seen a huge shift in the travel industry because of tech. From the early 2000s, when all of a sudden from the travel agency model, everyone moved on to booking their flights directly with airlines, or going to online travel agencies, or booking your flights and travel experiences through mobile apps. There's just a huge shift in the travel industry because of tech. And new companies popped up like Airbnb, for example, which really changed the way we experience the world and the way we go into different destinations. And certainly many travel insurance companies just did not go through the same transformation. The insurance industry has been in existence for over 300 years, and it's still I would say a very paper-driven industry, and many companies did not have a chance to adapt to the new ways of doing things. And then, of course, building from that in terms of tech, travel insurance as a product really has not gone through the transformation for how to use technology to deliver the products at the right time to the right customers, or even custom build your policy based on your actual needs. Where are you traveling to, what you're planning to do, and who are you as a traveler as well.
What do today's travelers want from travel insurance?
that actually something that you can easily find out by using technology again. And this is one of the features of our platform that we are constantly developing is for example, A/B testing, delivering the relevant benefits at the right time to you as a consumer when you're booking your trip. How can we customize a policy specifically for your needs based on your profile, based on your destination, based on your planned activities? Because nowadays, when you're booking your trip, you could be pre-booking pretty much everything in one go, from tickets to hotels to places where you're going to be staying or eating or activities, if you're going to be renting a car while you're traveling. And your travel insurance could be customized for you based on that experience as you're planning for your trip. And by using A/B testing features and really clear messaging for what each benefit is actually going to be offering to you, or what each benefit stands for, or what the policy would actually cover, we see higher conversion rates and higher success rates from consumers when they're purchasing the policy. And customers really appreciate the transparency of when we're putting the policy together for them while they're booking their trips, with clear messaging and clear explanation what each benefit is all about.
We're all familiar with purchasing a flight ticket, for example, and being bombarded with offers to insure our trip. Do you think these products are generally worth it?
It depends on where you're purchasing the flight. But in general, I guess I would say in the more kind of in the general answer, no, because most of the products that have been pushed through onto the distribution, in the industry we call them distribution partners, airlines, unlike travel agencies or kind of travel booking sites. Those are still old school products, and they're exactly the same without any customization. So for example, if you're booking your flight from New York to Chicago or New York to Nairobi, Kenya, most likely you're going to get the exact same travel insurance product that's presented to you in a PDF format. So that means that product is pre-written, predetermined, and it doesn't really take your trip into consideration. That's the main issue with the industry. And there's other issues that follow that. Many distribution partners have been charging insurance companies huge amounts of money to put these products on their websites, and in some instances up to 70 to 80% of upfront revenue share, which doesn't really give insurance companies much to work with in terms of paying out claims or delivering the right benefits. So you'll see often these products have very limited benefit structure, low limits, irrelevant benefits that you're probably never going to use. And on top of it, the third problem is that to keep up with the volumes of potential claims, many of these insurance products have huge lists of exclusions. I often say there's more exclusions than actual inclusions in these products. So in general, I would say no, those products are very, very inefficient. And again, we've seen that in the last 3 years. For example, in the onset of the pandemic, many travelers found themselves stuck with products that actually didn't work for them. Their cancellation claims were not covered because pandemic is one of the main exclusions. Airlines were not refunding them the actual cash value of the tickets, and so there was an eternal battle between customers, airlines, and the insurance companies during the pandemic. Then many insurance companies also, for example, stopped selling insurance during the onset of the pandemic, simply because they couldn't keep up with the number of complaints and claims. So again, going back to the questions, are those products worth it? I would say no. And there was many articles written about it. The famous one is New York Times article, "Is travel insurance worth it?" And it was written right at the onset of the pandemic, and the reporter actually pulled apart every major insurance company, and the conclusion was, again, no.
There's this assumption that travel insurance is solely a way of recouping costs in the event of, medical emergencies or, flight cancellations. What are benefits that people don't consider?
I think primarily, there's different benefits. So, for example, think of it, when you're traveling. Just think of when we travel, we tend to plan, right? So we're thinking about from point A to point B, and here's what we're planning to do. So a lot of us don't consider the nuances of what happens in the event of accident. So, for example, if you're going to Bali and then all of a sudden you get attracted to the fact that you can go scuba diving there. And in general, you have a travel insurance that possibly came with, your credit card or the annual policy that you were purchasing, or you just bought the travel insurance policy specifically with your ticket. I would question if you're actually going to be covered for scuba diving, because many insurance companies, unless you pay extra premium, would exclude that. So those are the little nuances that are so hyper specific to you as a person, and not in more of a general term. And it ranges from trip cancellation to trip interruption to baggage. So, for instance, I would even reverse that question. Are there any benefits that you don't need when you're buying your insurance policy? And the answer is most likely yes. So, for example, trip cancellation benefit is the most expensive part of your travel insurance policy, because it takes a percentage of your total trip cost to insure your cost of the ticket. And most of the time, and actually all the time, trip cancellation benefit is designed as a financial protection against your investment on the trip. Again, going back to the old days, many travelers were spending thousands of dollars booking their flights in advance and their trips in advance, sometimes 6 months in advance, sometimes 1 year in advance. And because of the pandemic, for example, now it's 2 years in advance. How do you protect yourself against that total trip cost? You buy trip cancellation. And then from there on, you build up your policy, medical emergencies, baggage, and whatever benefits that you think that you need. So going back to my reverse question of what benefits you actually don't need, sometimes trip cancellation is not needed. So let's say you're a digital nomad and you're jumping from one country to another, or you're a low kind of budget traveler, last minute booker, you're booking a cheap flight to go somewhere to, from the US to Mexico for the weekend. And you bought a $200 ticket, which is obviously not the case anymore. I think tickets are much more expensive. But you don't care about the cost of the ticket. All you care about is the actual medical part of your trip when you go into an international destination. You should have the flexibility to say no thanks to trip cancellation benefit and just concentrate on benefits for when they're relevant to you while you're traveling. And in this particular scenario, it would be maybe trip interruption, travel delay, medical, and so on. And examples could go on and on and on. So, for example, when you're booking your flight and you're presented with that prepackaged benefit policy by the airline, and you're not checking in your baggage because you're like on a short trip, you have your carry-on, you don't care about checked-in baggage cover. Most likely, the baggage insurance is going to be included in the comprehensive policy. And that kind of leads me into the second question, or a more separate topic, the actual conversion rates with partners, because many customers have a huge distrust in those policies because one size fits all doesn't really speak to them, because the awareness of travel insurance is so high. Consumers know exactly what they're looking for, and many of these policies that are presented to us at the checkout window are just not relevant to us as travelers, to our plans and to our experience and to our actual needs. And that's why we see such low conversion rates of those products or for those products.
One perception of travel insurance is that it's great until you need to make a claim. What is Battleface doing to counter that?
Different things. Again, technology is what we're using in this particular scenario, because the issue with travel insurance as of today is not the actual decision making and the claim, because more or less insurance companies are pretty good at determining what's covered, what's not covered based on the actual policy. When we spoke, we talked about policies that are are filled with exclusions. At the end of the day, consumers or customers and travelers just really need to concentrate on what they're buying and understand what they're buying. And insurance companies eventually they do a pretty good job of actually determining what's covered, what's not covered based on the policy that you purchased. The problem in the travel insurance is how you actually file a claim. So it becomes a very complex process. So let's say you have a small claim of $100 receipt, and you have to go and file a claim. You came back from your trip and you get in touch with the insurance company. Most likely that function is outsourced to a third party, and the third party is managing hundreds of other insurance companies. So their processes are very standardized. They're not customized to your actual experience when you bought the policy. They're not standardized to you as a customer. So it's just very generic, kind of like the one size fits all for the claims administration process. So then you get a paper claim form that's mailed to you. And usually even those claim forms are not customized. So you'll get a comprehensive claim form with different sections of the actual policy coverage. And you as a traveler, you're completely confused, right? You just have $100 receipt that is only applicable under a certain section of the policy. All of a sudden, you're stuck with this huge paper claim form that you need to be filling out. And this entire process just goes into an extensive exchange between you and the claims department for the insurance company of how to file a claim. And eventually, customers just say it's not worth it, right? Because it's not worth it for their time. So how do we change that? We're changing it with tech. First of all, how can we actually prepay those expenses immediately upfront so you don't have to file for reimbursement? Many of these expenses could be prepaid and settled. And for example, if your flight is delayed and there's a cash benefit on your policy for travel delay for over a certain period of time, there's ways for us to deposit money directly into you because we don't need you to file a claim, because we can track the flights, and all of that information is there. Or simply by taking a picture of your receipt and submitting it into your customer profile and getting reimbursement based on that. So all of that, we're eliminating kind of like the old paper-based processes, old paper-based verification processes, and simplifying the actual journey for the customer and for our partners' customers, because that's another problem that we're solving, how partners are presenting products to their customers, and how we can service those customers with the same level of efficiencies that their customers are used to having when they're purchasing their tickets from a website or their tour package and so on. So, simple summary, tech is the answer here on how we can simplify the process when we're dealing with the insurance company in the event of a claim.
You've been listening to Battleface Uncharted, brought to you by Battleface Travel Insurance.